construction, but now we're getting a little bit older, so we're going to talk about some of the same things, but we're going to put it into homes that you guys realize on a regular basis. This is more common for people to be showing, and things that you're going to look for to be able to tell your clients. Again, this is about making sure that you are smarter than your clients, so that you can be pointing things out to them, and they look to you and go, oh wow, he's really smart, she's really smart, right? So that's what the whole thing's all about. So we're here on Duncan Crescent. So what age of homes do you think these homes would be? 70s. In the 70s. Okay, so what's going to be different about the 70s homes versus the 2020 homes that we looked at before? What's the first thing you're going to think of? 2x4 construction versus 2x6. Okay, when did things change? 1980. 1980, the home builders changed the act to go from 2x4 construction to 2x6 construction. The biggest difference doesn't make it a stronger home necessarily, it gives it more insulation. So now the insulation factor becomes the difference between a newer home and an older home. There is constructural difference, and see when we get downstairs, the physical difference of beams and stuff as well. And you'll also see a lot of retrofitting of windows and stuff in these as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But when you talk about used homes, you got to talk about a lot of different things of what could happen or what should have happened as far as maintenance is concerned. So let's take a look. What's the first thing that I always look at when I come into a house is shingles. Which side of the house is going to show you the worst part of the shingles? South. Why south? Because the sunshine is predominantly from the south in Saskatchewan. So there are going to be, if there's going to be a bad side, it's going to be on the south side, and it's going to be on the west side. That's the hottest suns. The afternoon and evening suns are your hottest in the south. So if you have a house that has several different roof lines to it, and you want to kind of get an idea of what the quality of the shingles are, have a look from the southwest side first, and that will give you an indication. Anytime that there's a valley or two parts coming together, that will be some of the first things that start to go. Homes that have shingles that are starting to curl, that means you're probably, if it's a 15-year, you're probably at least 10 years into their life cycle. The last 3 to 5 years, they will start to curl quite a bit. But I've seen some really ugly homes where the entire house has curled, it's still not leaking water. So when home builders and home inspectors start going in there and saying, well, these need to be replaced right away because 3 shingles have a little bit of a curl to it, say to your client, you've got a couple years, don't worry about it. They're doing a CYA on their side of it, but reality is, if it's on the southwest corner, those expired probably 2/3 of what their lifespan should have been. The rest of the shingles most likely are good. So you can do only half a house if you want to shingle only half a house, and it's half the price, right? So it's something that can be done as well. One of the other things that we look at and we talked about before is where do the services come into this house and what are the repercussions of that? So in the new homes that we talked about, the water service lines that come in from the city of Saskatoon come in away from the garage. In the older areas, it got put in the middle of the lot and you got to choose what side your garage got put on. So the problem with that, if everyone remembers what the problem with that is, when we hook in water and sewer lines, what do? We excavate down 14 feet to put water and sewer lines in there. We take undisturbed soil that's been around for 1 million years and had dinosaurs and buffalo running all over it, to digging it and then throwing dirt back on top of it and thinking that it's going to stay at the same level. It will not. It will settle. It does not have the same impact of 1 million years of life on it. And so anywhere that you see a water line going into a house, you are going to have settlement in that house. If it happens to be under a driveway, you're going to have even more settlement under a driveway. And what will that cause? Oh, I'm guessing it will cause a crack and a slope as it starts to deteriorate. So you notice that this part of the garage pad gets the same amount of traction as everything else does, but you notice it breaks there and slides to there. Why would that be? That's where the water and sewer line were put in. There'll be now in some of the areas you'll see a CC marked on the sidewalk. Here I don't actually see it on any of the blocks here. Others have the mark CC curb cut, and that's the control device that the city uses to turn the water on and off in your house. So if you were to take a surveyor certificate and look at this house, where do you think the corners of this lot start? Give me some ballpark ideas as to what your thoughts are. Scott?
Well, I think you're going in 4 feet.
Why am I going in 4 feet?
I don't remember why.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure on that.
Yeah, you're right. Because a lot of people think that their property line as far as the surveyors would start here, but it doesn't. It will start usually 3 to 4 feet in, and then you would have to most likely run your fence lines down. They're going to be close, but they're not going to be exact. You'll also have fire hydrants, and lamp posts are usually on the corner posts as well. But again, that's city property. So a street light is on city property. That's the first thing. And if a lot of the areas, the front trees were planted by the city of Saskatoon on their land. So they have control over it. And you have to get permission to cut down a tree in the front. Trees in the back will always be the homeowners. But trees in the front, if people say, yeah, I want to get rid of this, we've got to check with the city to see if it's theirs or not. Because the city might value this tree at about $5,000 to $10,000. And if you cut it down, you're going to receive a bill. I had a client over on 15th Street, and I think I've told the story to a few of you before. They knocked down an old flat top home, and they built a beautiful big 2,000 square foot with a double attached garage. And they had this big oak tree in the front, this varsity view right across from President Murray Park. All trees, it's beautiful in there. They phoned the city and said, we would like this tree cut down. They said, okay, we'll have someone come over and assess that and tell you what the value of it is. Okay, but it's on our property. We just want you to cut it down. No, it's not on your property, it's on our property. But we're putting our garage there and our driveway's there. And they said, yeah. So they came there. $30,000 was the value of that tree. So if you go to 1202 15th Street, you will see a tree in the middle of the brick driveway that they drive around to get into the garage. Oh my. Because it was too expensive to cut down. Now, if that tree dies naturally or gets a bug in it, fine. But if they see drill marks in it or anything that is man-made, if a bobcat bangs into it or whatever and you damage it to kill it, you will be charged for that. Another agent that I know was doing a house and he wanted to do a bunch down the side of the building, and there were 6 trees in a row, $10,000 a tree. They were going to charge him. And he's like, that's ridiculous. He said, it's on our property, there are trees. So trees have value. If they're in the backyard, inside your fence, you can do what you want with them. If they're outside that fence line, make sure you tell your clients that could be an issue, that they have to think about this.
How often is the city checking?
The city knows every single tree in this house, in this complex, and they have a value of it downtown. Every single tree they plant is noted.
That's why when you go around and you see all these protective things around trees, that's a city tree.
Yeah. Well, those big
orange things.
Well, and the big green bags, those are bags of water with a hole in them. They're self-waterers, and you'll have one person go in there and feeding them. But trees are very valuable to a city, and they plant them. You'll get a choice when you build a house to put a tree up in the boulevard there, and they'll give you that for free. But if you want to cut it down or anything about it, the maintenance of it is up to the city. If it's overhanging, you can call the city and say, your tree needs to be cut down because it's blocking traffic. Or we have one on ours where it's so much as you drive by your vehicle, it's scraping the top of your vehicle. You have to drive around it. So actually just a week or so they came and they cut a bunch of the trees down so you can actually drive under it. It's their responsibility. Every other tree is the responsibility of yours. Okay?
And is there a standard how far away from the front yard belongs to the?
I'm going to say it's about 4 feet. It's in meters. It's about 4 feet. But what to look for, and this is where I was looking, you will see in most of the driveways, you will actually see the valve. It is a round circle with a square brass fitting inside of it, and that's what they put it on. Now, if it's on the driveway, sometimes they'll put a cup around it to keep the cement from filling that in, and sometimes they've actually covered over it and they'll have to break through with it. Sometimes it's in the middle of the grass. But if they come to your yard, if you have a problem, they'll come with a metal detector and they'll beep, 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 beep. They'll dig up it'll be a couple of feet below. They'll come with a big rod and they'll turn it down. That is on their property. And it's from that moment on that it becomes your problem. So if you have a leak in your water from that valve to your house, it's the responsibility of the homeowners. If that is leaking from the valve to the street, responsibility of the city. And what you're standing on is all water and sewer. That's water and sewer is on the streets, not in back alleys. Okay, in Saskatoon, they're all on the streets. And so if they have to do any repairs, that's what they do.
So that valve, that would be the end of the city, like that's placed
Correct.
right at the end.
Correct. Yep,
So then
that's a
there-
turn-off valve. Yep. So when a new home is built, as I mentioned, it'll be the same trough the water and sewer both get put into. So if you see that this is happening, if you want to figure out where the water and sewer come into this house, just follow a straight line through this house. It'll either be at the front of this house, right behind that door, or at the back of the house, right behind that door. They don't angle off to the corner. They always go straight. So follow that line right through the house. If you're ever wanting to know how to shut water off or where the water meter will be, that's exactly where it's going to be every single time. They run a straight line. Okay? Any other questions so far? No? Okay. Let's go. Can we get to the outside, Dawn?